Aujourd'hui encore, donc nous allons, la session d'aujourd'hui serait répartie en trois, je vais dire en trois parties, d'accord? Donc, we will start with a discussion session, okay? Then we will explore the concepts of emotional intelligence and interpersonal skills. And then we will move on, I guess, to the presentation of your colleagues. Today's discussion will be oriented towards, I guess, two types of communication: the oral and the written communication, which are speeches and formal reports, and which were subject of your assignment. The assignment that the majority of you have filled with enthusiasm, motivation, and precision also. Okay, so you will.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Go ahead, Samia. You're not ready for the presentation.
I'm just wondering if it is possible to postpone our project for this Wednesday.
You mean the presentation, Samia?
Yes, yes.
You are with Fatima Zahra, right?
Yes, yeah.
Well, okay, we can do it Wednesday.
Because Miss, we have already done the presentation and all the project. Yes, but we are not satisfied because we had a lot of work and we just knew about the presentation yesterday. So we started yesterday and we are not quite satisfied about
you
the final.
You had the planning published in the platform, but anyway, there is no problem. You can have this. We can have this presentation next session. It's okay.
Okay, thank you so much, Miss.
You're welcome. So, but now you made some assignments. You analyzed some speeches, guys. Yeah. Okay. Hi, guys. So you analyzed some speeches. Some speeches of some inspiring leaders, and you choose some inspiring speeches. You analyze them. Okay, so you analyze the audience, you analyze the purpose of the speech, you identify the rhetorical strategy and the techniques, the language use, and the oral tactics. Okay, so some of you choose to talk about Emmanuel Macron communication crisis, health crisis speech. Some of you talk about Oprah Winfrey. Some of you talk about Roosevelt. Some of you talk about some historical Thomas Sankara, Abdurrahman, etc. And those are. I choose, let's say, 3 special speeches made by your colleagues Abdurrahman, Nizar, and Bushra. Okay, and I choose them because they represent 3 different situations. Abdurrahman, Omar. The Paul Kagame speeches made by Omar. So Omar, Nizar, Bushra, are you here?
Yes, madam, I'm here.
Okay. Hi, Omar, Bushra, are you here? And Nizar?
Yes, madam, of course I'm here. Yeah, definitely.
Perfect. Where is Nizar? Nizar, you're here. Okay, you're here, Nizar. Bonjour, Isabelle. So, Nizar, Bushra, and Omar, I choose your 3 speech analysis or oral communication analysis. We will discuss them, and I want you to help me. You have a problem with your. Okay, Nizar, you can use the discussion when the meeting chat to discuss with us. I guess your colleagues can see what you will be writing. So we will use. I want you to help me discussing your 3 proposition. Okay. So Abdurrahman, you choose to talk about this famous. Interesting well, not famous. Well, I mean, famous in an international diplomatic level. The Paul Kagame 2019 discourse, which is communément connu as "we don't follow rules, we follow choices. There is no rule book for us." This is the main. I mean, the very interesting, the very special, let's say, sentence used by Paul Kagame in this interview. And the audience, Abdurrahman, was the US business leaders, right? Sorry, Abdurrahman, Omar. Sorry, Omar.
It's Omar.
Sorry,
yeah.
Omar.
Yeah,
so he's your friend anyway.
No, it's okay. Yeah, it's okay.
So what was the audience of the speech?
The audience were like, he was in the US. He went to US, and on his tour, he was invited in a conference with the business people, and he was supposed to talk
business
to them.
People,
yeah, most of
American business people.
What?
The American business leaders, right?
Yeah, basically, but there are obviously some African, the people
also some African business
who went
leaders.
to meet him too, yeah.
Okay, so the audience was business, well, American or other African, some African leader was here, but the audience is generally business leaders. So what was the purpose of this speech, Omar?
Basically, the purpose of his speech, mostly like Paul Kagame, everywhere he goes, people like ask him about his country and the way of his governance. You know, because his country has a really, really deep history. Like, I recommend everyone to go back and read about it. Because Rwanda as a country, probably like some of us don't know Rwanda, but Rwanda as a country, like they had a genocide. Which almost more than 1 million people died in 1994. At that moment, he was in Uganda, and because he went to seek refuge in Uganda, the neighboring country. And afterwards, he formed a group, like let's say a revolutionary group, and they went to fight against. Because literally, it was just kind of like fitna. How do you call fitna?
Okay.
Yeah, between the two tribes, there are two major tribes in Rwanda, and they were made to fight against each other.
Okay.
And so literally, like a neighbor kills his neighbor because like he's from the other ethnic group, and that's how the fight started. And now he came to Rwanda with his formed revolutionary group to fight to stop the fight, and he managed. So. Right now, from then, it literally after the fight around 1998, Rwanda was like coming back, but everyone, all the international leaders said like it's not going to make it, it's going to die with poverty and stuff. But right now, it's the second growing economy in Africa, one of the top growing economies in the world. And practically, like now, everyone talks about it. Everyone wants to talk about it, and wherever he goes, even in the speech, like the one I chose, they were asking him about how far he's come, what has he done, and all that. So that's kind of a summary.
So the main purpose was to kind of market his country, market the strategies he used for the development of his country, to solve the economical, social problem that his country was facing, right?
Yeah, true.
Okay, Omar. So, what are the rhetorical strategies and techniques used by Paul Kagame in that speeches or in that interview?
One of the sentences that he used is like, we as Africans have to stop having this mentality, like, I don't know, we're seeing the white as like they're the one who can make everything, and we have to develop the mentality, like the we can do mentality. He used the we can do mentality, and basically if we have the we can do mentality, means like there's nothing to limit us from doing anything, you know.
He used like strong ideas, right?
Like
clear but strong ideas.
Whatever he says, like you really feel it in your heart. Yeah, whatever
he was smiling also. He was smiling.
Yeah, similes.
Sorry,
I didn't get you, madam.
There's a mistake there. There is a mistake in the. I mean, smiles.
Smiles.
Smiles. He was smiling while speaking.
And yeah. He always smiles, cause people are kind of like saying like he's a bad leader, but it's like if I was a bad leader, the citizens won't vote for. Cause the whole world, the leaders, like a lot of them were fighting against him, like to leave power after his 2 terms, and he didn't do anything. He just agreed with it, but afterwards the citizens asked for a referendum to change the constitution, just to change the part like he can add some more 2 terms. And they went to sign petition, and 97% of them signed for him. So like you guys are out.
Yeah, but just let's stay focused on the rhetorical strategy and techniques he used, like technically. What did he use in while doing this speech? Well, I watched the interview as you sent me the links, and I felt that what he used as rhetorical strategies is really simple and clear idea, but really a very strong idea, simple and clear and strong. And we will see today that smiling in nonverbal communication, sometimes smiling can reflect honesty. He looks like honest. He used smiling to express his honesty about what he was saying. So what about the language? He used storytelling. Storytelling, yeah.
Yeah, he uses storytelling. Like he talks about the story. The way he started to like he tells stories to the public so as they get to relate with him. Like if I tell you a story about my life, you get to relate with me in a deeper level than just talking to you. Yeah, I just felt like
he was like he used authenticity. So as you said, we felt that when he says something, he really mean it. He really believe in it. He shares values. He shares beliefs, right?
Yeah, true.
Okay, so what about oral tactics? You said that he was rising and falling intonation according to focus on the idea, right?
Yeah, when he wants to emphasize something, you get to see the tone, like he rises the tone, and sometimes he's really composed. He just talks slowly, like with a low tone. But when he wants to emphasize on something, like which is serious, he raises his tone, and so as you get to feel, the difference in the intonation when someone talks to you.
Yeah, perfect. So I'll move to Joaquin Phoenix, but still the floor will still open with you, Omar, so that we compare the two let's say communication situation. So Nizar, you talked about a very, let's say, phenomenal speech presented by Joaquin Phoenix in the Oscars acceptance this year, 2020, and for his, let's say, again, phenomenal role, the Joker, as an actor. And what was Nizar? Who were the audience of this speech? What was the audience of this speech, Nizar? You are typing, Nizar? We can hear you typing, so you can speak, I guess. It was the celebrities present in the room and also the people watching TV. Right, celebrities, artists, right? People watching the show, as you said, right? the nominee, as you said in your as what you write in your assignment, the artists, the celebrities, right? Exactly. So Fatem Zahra, on parle de ça après, d'accord? Yeah, and what was the purpose, Nizar? What was the goal of this communication? What was the goal of this speech? I mean, you write in this the assignment, ce que tu as écrit dans le travail à rendre, c'est que the purpose, the goal was to aware people toward injustice, right? To gender inequality, racism, animal rights, etc. So Joaquin Phoenix take the l'opportunité of this speech, who get more people to join him on his fight against all the injustice in the world. Exactly, Nizar. So he used this opportunity, he used this situation to talk about this cause he believes in, which is to fight injustice, to promote gender equality, to fight racism, animal rights, etc. So that was the purpose of his Oscar speech, Oscar's acceptance speech, and this was very special. This was very human for him, because many artists, when they get this prize, they usually just accept, thank their family, thank their professional team who were helping them. But Joaquin Phoenix took this situation, took this opportunity to talk about human issue, and to advocate, de plaidoyer autour d'une affaire qui concerne toute l'humanité. Okay, donc Nizar, what are the rhetorical strategy and techniques? What are the rhetorical strategies and techniques used by Joaquin Phoenix? So you said imagery, métaphore. Okay. Imagerie et métaphore. What are the rhetorical strategies and techniques used by Joaquin Phoenix? So Nizar, you say, I liked the metaphor about the cow. Yes, I liked it too. So we feel entitled to artificially inseminate a cow, yeah. And when she gives birth, we steal her baby, even though her cries of anguish are unmistakable. Then we take her milk that's intended for her calf and we put in our coffee and our cereal. That was a metaphor, Nizar. He was comparing the cow to the planet, right? Exactly. So that was a metaphor. He used metaphor. He used he uses a lot of metaphor, not just this one. So this speech was like a very rich in terms of metaphor, in terms of imagery. What about language? So language, you say that he uses clear terms, easy to understand, with a compassionate tone to influence the audience emotions. And as oral tactics, you said nothing. You said that he used a compassionate tone. But let's say that as oral tactics, he uses the Joker character, Nizar. Joker character. Let me say something. Few people knew. Well, he's a good actor, but he wasn't like a celebrity. Few person knew Joaquin Phoenix. the Joker, the character, became really the character is famous. And well, he uses the character, he uses the Joker, he uses the Joker gestures, he uses the Joker voice, okay, to express and to talk about this well, social injustice and gender inequality and all these issues that he's believing in and he's fighting. Okay, so as when really a typical tactic is his use of the character, the Joker character, and the Joker character. This is very well, the gestures, the tones, the emotions, the voice variation, etc., is very rich. Okay, so if we go back to Paul Kagame, Omar, and if we compare Nizar and Omar, if we can compare the two situations, well, Paul Kagame used a very, well, and sometimes he rises or he rises the intonation, but generally his ideas was very simple. The sentences are very clear. The idea was, les idées étaient très précises. Les phrases étaient courtes, simple, clear, and he didn't use a lot of gestures. But he used, for example, smiles. From time to time, he uses smile. Well, for the Joker, things are different. Things are different with the Joker. He uses a lot of gestures. He uses a lot of voice variation. He uses a lot of imagery, a lot of metaphor. And I invite you to watch the two speeches, and then we will go back to the Bushra's speech. Well, Steve Jobs' speech, who is kind of similar to the Paul Kagame speech. Very simple, very clear. Not a lot of gestures, not a lot of gestures, not a lot of tone variation. Why? Because every situation, every speech here, has a different audience, a different goal. And I want to, before giving the floor to Bushra, I want to focus again on the importance of sitting and identifying your goal, making clear your goal and your purpose, making analyzing the audience, because all those three steps after, the rhetorical strategies, the language, the oral tactics, the nonverbal strategies, will depend on your audience and will depend on the objective. You will not use the Joker for US business leaders, for example. The business community is generally people pragmatic, people, voilà, pragmatic people. And the audience, Joaquin Phoenix audience, are artists, for example, and people who were watching the Oscars are people who like arts. So they like, they have tendency to like la créativité, d'accord? Et donc ils vont accepter la créativité de Joaquin Phoenix. So what follow as rhetorical strategy, as language, as oral tactics, as globally nonverbal communication will depend on your audience and will depend on your objective. So I give the floor to Bushra to present her speech analysis. Steve Jobs, 2005, very strong, very inspiring speech to the Stanford students, right, Bushra?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So I have chosen, of course, this Steve Jobs speech. So the leader is, of course, Steve Jobs. Now, where the place is Stanford University. I'm just trying to give you informations first.
Yeah.
And when the year is 2005, the audience is the students of Stanford University. And the message and the purpose is to embrace the importance of three things, which is love, loss, and death. And what he has used is the combination of ethos and pathos. We're going to talk about that in details. The language is very simple and comprehensive and appeals very logic. So I'm going to talk about the first thing is why I have chosen this speech. Or should I talk about the audience first, right? The audience.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Sure.
So the audience, so basically Steve Jobs was invited at the University of Stanford, where he were asked to give a speech to the graduation in 2005. He's, of course, the co-founder of Apple. Everybody knows him. Now the motivation, now the audience, the motivation or the purpose. The goal of Steve Jobs' speech is, of course, to persuade the graduate to find the jobs that they can truly love, to have the passion for their definite activities. Thus, Jobs is successful in achieving his goals because of his exclusive approach to structuring the speech and to blending and rhetorical appeals in order. In order to discuss well-known concepts and ideas of love, as I said, lost in death, in an unique form. Because he talked about love, because he said that everybody should love the work that you're gonna do. Like for us as a students now, we should love our student statue, and for professors, for anybody who work at a job, they should love their work, because you're going to spend a lot of time in your work. So you have to love it. And secondly, he has talked about loss, because he was about to die. He had cancer. So that's why he talked about losing. And also he has lost his Apple company, but he buy again after Pixar. And thirdly, he has talked about death, saying that death is the only destiny that we all share. So in his speech, Jobs demonstrates the virtuous use of rhetorical appeals and the development and presentation of one of the most persuasive commencement speech in order to draw the students' attention to the significant question which can contribute to changing the person's life.
Okay.
So, Madam, go ahead, ask me questions like you did with them. So, the language, you said, right?
Yeah, the language.
Okay.
So,
just
put three questions so that we, comme ça on précise vraiment et on cadre les informations que tu es en train de partager avec nous. So the audience was the students of Stanford University, right, Bushra? And the objective, as you said, to persuade the graduate to find a job that they'll truly love. Yeah. So, les stratégies, la rhétorique et les stratégies techniques qu'il a utilisées, the rhetorical strategies and technique that he used, Boucha.
Yes, so there is three. Basically, there are three. There are ethos and pathos, and they are like logos. So we use like ethos is simply means that you have to convince an audience by using credibility or character.
Yeah. Your own beliefs, your own principles, when you tell, for example, your story, tell the real thing that you were facing, for example, so that what you said is really vraiment crédible.
Yes, exactly. Secondly is pathos. Now, pathos is the use of emotion. The emotions appeals, and you try to persuade an audience by appealing their emotions, because he has speaks about his life and about his sickness of cancer. Yeah. And finally, the logos, which is logic, the use of logic. Now, Steve Jobs is a logical person. That's the first and primary reason why I love him. So appeals to logic means that you convince someone using the logic or reason. That's all.
That's all. What about the oral tactics? I think I watched the speech through the links you sent me. He used a normal tone, right? And I guess focused on la force des idées. He focused on the ideas. He focused on a clear style. But he was also he was reading. He was reading a speech. He was reading the speech, right, Bushra? So sometimes, let's say something, Bushra. Sometimes when the situation is critical, when the consonant is more important, is very important, when the ideas are very strong, the leader can read the speech, because here the importance of the ideas that he's sharing with the students are more let's say more important again. I'll say important again anyway, more important than acting, you know, than trying to inspire them with gestures. So, well, in this three situation, and I invite you to three of you guys, on all your colleagues to this discussion. In the three situation, the audiences are different, and in the first situation where the Paul Kagame was addressed his speech, or those answers, because a journalist was with him, asking him some questions. We needed his point of view. We needed to hear his spontaneous answers, for example. So he wasn't reading from a paper or something, but a common point between Paul Kagame and Steve Jobs' speeches is la clarté des idées. Ça, c'est un point commun entre les deux, la précision des idées, le ton. Ils ont utilisé the simple tone. Okay, not a lot of tone variation, because here again we are in front of two, as you said, pragmatic, logical audiences, those person who who uses the left side of their brain. Okay, they are well, pragmatic, as I said. So the difference with the Joaquin Phoenix Oscars acceptance speech is that Joaquin Phoenix was in front of an audience who uses the right side of their brain. They are using they accept creativity. They understand creativity. So Joaquin Phoenix took s'est aventuré à adopter the Joker character, the variation tone, the tone variation of the Joker, the gestures of the Joker, metaphor, imagery, but people understood that. Why? Because the audience was an audience who understand creativity. What if Paul Kagame or Steve Jobs, for example, uses the Joker, uses, I don't know, Mr. Bean, for example, Gad el-Maleh, for example, gestures and character to talk with students and talk with the business leaders? Well, we have les chances sont très réduites que cela ait l'impact requis. So according to audience, according to the objective, you will decide what rhetorical strategy, what techniques, what language, what oral technique you will use to convince and to impact the audience, and to attain and to reach the objective. Okay. So,
yes, exactly, madam.
Perfect. Anyone else want to take the floor to talk to us about if there is a different speech or an added value, for example, or anyone who want to generally speak about his inspiring leader and want to share with us your speech analysis?
Madam, I just want to add that Steve Jobs has been using a language which is simple, because he was addressing normally people who's gonna work. So he was the perfect guy to invite to that graduation. And also he has used clarity, or we can say that he was using logic, because in his life he has experienced a lot of experience that were very hard on him. So that's why, and also he's running one of the most successful companies in the world, which is Apple. So that's why he's known for his logic and for his reason. And then also, I do believe that everybody should watch his speech. It is very motivational and inspirational. Thank you.
Totally agree with you, Bushra. Me and Bushra invite you to watch this very inspiring speech qui date de 2005, mais qui a encore un impact très très fort. Okay, so who wants else to share with us his research, his analysis? Who wants to share with us his analysis? Nobody? Okay, perfect. Well, thank you anyway. Thank you. Well, globally, la majorité d'entre vous, the majority has made the assignment with. Okay, this week.
Madame.
Yeah.
Madame, je m'excuse. Est-ce que vous avez reçu mon devoir?
Qui est en train de parler? Ikram?
Ikram, oui.
Oui, je l'ai reçu. J'ai reçu ton travail, Ikram. Tu veux nous en parler? Tu veux nous parler de ton analyse?
D'accord.
Vas-y, Ikram.
Donc, j'ai regardé un...
Donc, j'ai regardé sur le CEO, le PDG de Alibaba.
Oui, Jack Ma.
Un projet révolutionnaire. Alibaba, AliExpress est un projet révolutionnaire qui a changé le monde. Et son objectif, justement, est cette perspective que la Chine ne souhaite plus devenir l'usine du monde, non, et souhaite réduire les intermédiaires pour qu'elle puisse directement atteindre les consommateurs. Et justement, c'est ce qui s'est passé à travers AliExpress et Alibaba. Et on peut dire que c'est une plateforme révolutionnaire. Yak Ikram.
Oui, exactement.
Et justement, c'est pourquoi cette personne t'a inspiré.
Oui.
Elle a vraiment impacté les habitudes de consommation des consommateurs dans le monde et parce qu'elle a permis aux gens d'entrer en contact direct avec ces petits ateliers de production en Chine.
Oui.
Et donc, les consommateurs ont commencé à bénéficier de produits très, très réduits. Et en plus, vous recevez le produit jusqu'à chez vous. D'accord? Ça, c'est pour les consommateurs individuels à travers AliExpress. Alibaba, ça a permis à certaines personnes de créer des petits business, etc.
Oui, exactement, oui. Oui, effectivement.
Très bien. Vas-y, Ikram.
Oui, aussi sa façon de parler. Donc, il ne craint pas de parler de sa vie. Oui, de sa vie personnelle. Ces fautes qu'il a fait quand il était encore jeune, quand il était étudiant, et aussi il a eu quelques problèmes pour intégrer la faculté américaine, je ne me souviens pas, mais il a été refusé, je pense, 9 fois. Mais il n'a pas perdu espoir. Aussi, sa spontanéité de parler, dans sa façon de parler, elle a un peu le sens d'humour.
D'accord.
Aussi, la façon de motiver les étudiants et les gens à prendre les risques dans le business et de ne pas craindre le business. Il a dit une phrase que business is fun, is a fun. Donc, il n'y a pas des raisons pour craindre une initiative dans le business.
Très bien. Donc, ce que tu es en train de dire, Ikram, c'est que parmi les techniques et les rhétoriques que le PDG d'Alibaba a utilisées, c'est des techniques de motivation, c'est ça? Il a persuadé, il a essayé, il a joué l'outil de la persuasion envers les étudiants, c'est ça?
Oui, oui, effectivement.
Très bien. Qu'en est-il les tactiques vocaux qu'il a utilisées? La voix, les variations de voix.
Ah oui. Donc, j'ai dit la spontanéité. Et oui. Et
la spontanéité, donc il a utilisé l'éthos, c'est-à-dire l'authenticité, et tu as dit qu'il a parlé de sa propre expérience. Donc, in the language he uses storytelling, authenticity, sorry guys. Il a parlé de sa propre expérience, il a parlé des expériences par lesquelles il est passé, il n'a pas eu honte de partager avec nous, de dire qu'il a échoué à intégrer l'université, etc. Donc, pour être un peu authentique, pour partager réellement ce qui s'est passé avec lui. Donc, as language, he used storytelling, authenticity. Et tu as dit qu'il a essayé de persuader. Il n'était pas dans les arguments logiques, mais plutôt dans la persuasion, dans la motivation des gens. D'accord?
Oui. Il utilise des mots spécifiques à la motivation et tout. Donc, pour ne pas être, pour ne pas que l'audience avoir une, oui.
L'audience ne soit pas quoi, Ikra?
Ne soit pas confus.
Très bien. Donc, il a utilisé des phrases très courtes, très claires, très simples pour éviter les ambiguïtés et les confusions.
Oui, c'est ça, oui.
Très, très bien. Très, très bien. Très bien. Tu as quelque chose à rajouter, Ikra?
Non, c'est tout. Merci beaucoup.
Merci. Parfait. Très bien, Ikra. Bravo.
Merci.
Isabelle, tu aimerais partager avec nous quelque chose? Tu aimerais partager avec nous ton analyse?
Oui, bonjour. En fait, moi, j'avais choisi Barack Obama. Et je voulais juste parler de quelques points qui m'ont particulièrement marqué chez lui. C'est qu'en fait, attendez, c'est vrai que j'avais tendance à comparer Obama à Donald Trump, qui sont finalement deux personnalités complètement différentes. Et c'est ça qui m'a surtout marqué, en fait, justement dans l'analyse du charisme de Obama, où finalement, comme la plupart des personnes dont on a parlé aujourd'hui, on remarque l'humilité et finalement l'empathie envers son audience. Et c'est quelque chose que finalement qui est toujours appréciable. Et on arrive vraiment à se mettre. En fait, il y a une sorte on est presque lié d'attachement en fait à Obama dans le sens où il maintient une simplicité qui finalement qui permet de nous lier à lui directement parce qu'on se dit que c'est quelqu'un voilà, qui est issu d'une famille multiculturelle. Donc, c'est peut-être ça aussi qui m'a un peu rapproché de lui parce que moi, je suis issue voilà, d'une famille franco-indienne. Donc, il a vraiment deux histoires différentes. Il est noir. Et donc, c'est vrai que surtout à son époque, c'était pas forcément quelque chose qui était. Les personnes de couleur n'étaient pas forcément vouées à obtenir des rangs élevés. C'était plutôt réservé à une certaine classe. Et donc, en fait, de voir que lui, il a réussi à franchir des étapes tout en gardant son humilité. Voilà, c'est ça que je trouve intéressant et très inspirant chez lui, en fait.
Mais tu as analysé un discours spécifique ou c'est une analyse de différents discours?
Alors, en fait, le premier discours que j'avais analysé, c'était un discours qu'il avait fait en 2004 où il soutient, en fait, deux politiciens à l'élection présidentielle, c'est John Kerry. Et en fait, ça m'avait un peu marqué parce qu'il a vraiment cette capacité de communion en fait entre les gens, c'est-à-dire que bon, effectivement, dans l'audience, il y a essentiellement les personnes, enfin les démocrates, mais on voit vraiment dans son discours qu'il essaie de rassembler. Il n'est pas sectaire du tout, et on sent vraiment qu'il essaie de parler en fait à tout le monde. Et voilà, c'est pour ça que ce discours m'avait marqué. Et après, j'avais vu d'autres vidéos où finalement on voit vraiment son évolution. Donc Barack Obama plus jeune et Barack Obama aujourd'hui, finalement l'authenticité elle est toujours là, mais c'est juste qu'avec le temps on voit bien qu'il s'est assagi, oui voilà c'est ça, qu'il s'est assagi et qu'il est beaucoup plus posé et réfléchit quand il parle, mais tout en gardant son authenticité et son humilité, quoi.
Absolument. Mais on remarque également que Barack Obama, les techniques et les stratégies, enfin les rhétoriques qu'il utilise sont très très développées. À un certain niveau, l'ancien président américain, il arrive à sourire, il arrive à pleurer, il arrive à, je vais dire, à traduire ce qu'il dit et ce qu'il ressent par des communications non verbales très très développées.
C'est vrai.
Et tu as remarqué ça dans différents discours, c'est ça, Isabelle?
C'est vrai que j'avais pas pensé à, par exemple, c'est vrai, les rires. La gestuelle, oui, c'est quelque chose que j'avais marqué, mais j'avais pas pensé aux pleurs. Et c'est vrai que maintenant que vous le dites, en fait, ça a tout son sens. En fait, c'est ça aussi qui fait que il est encore plus, enfin, qui le rapproche de nous, en fait, des gens lambda. Mais oui, en fait, c'est vraiment son empathie et sa capacité à finalement à se révéler tel qu'il est, en fait. Il n'y a pas de, il y a pas de filtre, mais en fait, si je prends juste l'exemple de Donald Trump, c'est vrai qu'il n'y a pas de filtre chez lui. Il est authentique à sa façon, mais il est tellement imbu de sa personne que je trouve qu'il perd toute crédibilité en fait dans ses discours et dans sa volonté de persuader, comme en même temps. C'est une force parce que il est tellement vrai que les gens pourront voter que pour quelqu'un de vrai, en fait. En fait, c'est un peu contradictoire, mais en tout cas, moi, c'est quelque chose qui me correspond pas, mais je pourrais comprendre que, par exemple, Donald Trump.
C'est question de segments et c'est question de segments, voilà, de segments, de choix électoraux, d'idéologie, etc. Mais le point commun, c'est l'authenticité, comme tu viens de dire. Alors, qu'en est-il des tactiques vocaux utilisées par Barack Obama dans ses discours?
Il est toujours très, très, très posé. Il a une voix qui est grave, mais il est toujours très posé. Donc, en fait, il pense vraiment à faire des pauses régulièrement, surtout après des phrases qui sont importantes, des phrases qui sont marquantes. Et en fait, la parole, c'est quelque chose d'important, mais parfois, en fait, le silence est encore plus important que la parole. Et lui, je trouve c'est vraiment quelque chose qui s'est super bien manié, le silence, en fait, l'art de maîtriser le silence, parce que le silence, en fait, ça permet d'accentuer encore plus sa parole.
Absolument, absolument. Très bien. Tu souhaites rajouter quelque chose, Isabelle?
Non, c'est tout.
Merci. Bien, merci beaucoup et bravo. Bravo. Bravo les amis. Donc, alors Sami Hassani, I would like to talk about my report as well. Okay, we will move on to the next assignment. Okay, and the second assignment, Samia, in the second assignment, you were asked to answer some questions and to present them in a formal report, because as we said, in communication we have two types of, we have the oral communication and we have the written communication. And in oral communication we analyze the speeches. In writing communication we saw formal reports, we saw emails, for example, and we said that a formal report should contain some important components, like including a letter, a memo, or a preface. And we said that this preface should identify the purpose. Here I'm reminding you what we saw last session. We said that this formal report should identify the purpose of the attached report. We said that this formal report should include a cover which can contain a title that captures, we said that should answer the so what of the report, and then a title page. We said that it should contain a table of consonants, a table consonant which should contain a list, which should list all important sections of the report. We said that it should also contain, well, if necessary, an executive summary that summarizes the main ideas from the body of the document. We should say that this formal report should also include an introduction, an opening, And then a body, a discussion, I mean the core, le corps du rapport, the body, the discussion, the body of the report. We said that it should also contain a closing, I mean a conclusion. And then next step, if we are dealing with scientific research, for example, all scientific reports have a next step, last session that talk with the research perspective, for example, because scientific research never stops. And an appendix, and we said that the appendix, l'annex, contain any data or other support for your report that is too lengthy or detailed for discussion session. What we don't really need to put in the report, we can put it in the appendix. And then we talk about the bibliography. Okay, so I received some interesting, very interesting work, and I will try to share with you my screen. Okay, I'll try to share with you my screen. Okay. Guys, are you watching? Hello?
Yes, madam. Yes. We're here.
Yes.
What are you see? What are you see? You are seeing the leadership communication report, right? The Paul Kagame report.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Perfect. So this is, of course, Omar report. So we have here. What do we have here? A cover, right? This is a cover, and then I have a preface. Okay. Then I have a table of content, sorry. A table of content. Then I have an introduction, guys. Okay. Then I have, this is the discussion or the body of the report. Okay. The body of the report, the discussion, a discussion. Okay. Then we have a conclusion, an appendix, a graphic that, for example, that is related to the core of the core, the body of the report, and related but not necessarily needed in the discussion part. And then we have a bibliography. Okay, Fadil. This is an interesting report also that I have received. Here we have a cover that contains the title of the report. Okay. Some logo, for example, the department, the institution, for example. Then we have Fadil, are you here? The table of content. Then we have an introduction. A discussion. Well, discussion, le corps du rapport diffère d'un travail à l'autre. Okay. Then we have des liens. Well, okay. Des liens. I mean, then we have a conclusion and a bibliography. So, for example, Fadel, les liens, ces liens, par exemple, those links could be le film documentaire, could be appendix, for example, appendix. Those information, ces données, these data is linked or for sure of the core text of the body of the report, but they are linked, but not necessarily needed in the core of the text. For example, for Fadel report, those links, this documentary film could be included in the appendix part. So, give control. So this is, for example, Bushra's report, for example. Here is the cover. And then we have this abstract, preface, for example. And then we have an introduction. Well, this abstract, we usually use the abstract in the scientific work, the scientific articles, or the scientific reports. We use abstract to summarize all what we will talk about in the core of the report. But in non-scientific, for example, just a formal report, we could just talk about an introduction. Okay. Then this is the core of the text, yeah. Then we have a conclusion, then we have a reference, and for example, Bushra didn't, well, no, she has an appendix, l'annex. Alors the appendix is for her some inspirational quotes used by Steve Jobs, so she not necessarily need them in the body of the report, but she used them. They are related, but not necessarily needed in the body of the. And I have an interesting also report of Myriam Madmoun. Well, here's a cover report, and then I have an executive summary, and then an introduction, a body discussion. Open free body discussion, okay, and a conclusion, and then bibliography. Okay, guys. Isabel, if the report if the report was very simple without any cover, is the mark going to be strongly impacted? What mark, Isabel? As an assignment, we didn't need to do a cover. Wait, guys, I will share the.
Madame, j'ai deux questions, s'il vous plaît.
Vas-y, Marie.
La première, j'aimerais savoir si vous avez reçu mon rapport.
Oui, je l'ai reçu.
D'accord. Et la deuxième, j'aimerais savoir si vous pouvez nous montrer un exemple de préface ou de lettre. La toute première partie, mémo, préface ou lettre.
Alors la préface, c'est par exemple la préface que j'ai montrée au départ, la préface de Omar, par exemple, de Omar, oui. La préface, c'est une sorte de quoi? Let's see again the definition of the preface. It should identify the purpose, okay? Elle doit identifier Marie, elle doit identifier l'objectif du rapport. So it may provide highlights on the content and always ends with a statement or what the writer expects the receiver to do next in the response to the reports. C'est-à-dire qu'elle doit contenir les idées principales du rapport et elle contient ce que le lecteur, the writer, l'auteur doit s'attend, d'accord, du lecteur par exemple. Et c'est justement, par exemple, l'exemple de Omar. Je peux peut-être vous l'envoyer if Omar gave me the permission. So, Isabel, if the report was very simple without any cover, is the mark going to be strongly impacted? What mark, Isabel? The grade, you mean? I thought it was just an assignment. We didn't need to do a cover.
Madam, it's okay. You can send her.
I can send it. Thank you, Omar.
Yeah.
So the mark on the report. Okay. I was speaking about the grade. Sorry. Okay, the grade. Alors, l'idée, c'était quoi, Isabelle et Achraf? L'idée, c'est que d'appliquer le contenu, c'est-à-dire les composantes, les différentes composantes d'un rapport formel pour répondre aux différentes questions. Alors, je l'ai dit la dernière séance, l'important pour moi n'était pas le contenu, mais vraiment les composantes du rapport formel. D'accord, mais généralement, if you talk about, c'est-à-dire si vous parlez de la note qui constitue un petit pourcentage de votre note du individual grade, c'est-à-dire que chaque composante est, c'est-à-dire on a la même, je veux dire, la même note est attribuée aux différentes composantes. C'est-à-dire que, quoique la couverture paraisse très attractive, elle peut marketer le contenu, mais une couverture est notée sur le même pied d'égalité qu'un titre, je veux dire, je ne sais pas, qu'une préface, qu'une introduction, qu'une conclusion, c'est-à-dire ce sont différentes composantes. What next we have, for example, c'est clair que certaines composantes comme the next step, for example, pour quelques rapports n'est pas nécessaire, d'accord? The next step n'est pas nécessaire, mais si par exemple, c'est-à-dire qu'elle sera pas notée, parce que là on n'est pas en train de préparer, on n'a pas présenté un rapport scientifique. D'accord. La bibliographie, bien sûr que la bibliographie doit être nécessairement présente parce que vous avez besoin de sources pour préparer vos rapports. Voilà. Donc, ne vous inquiétez pas en tout cas. D'accord. Ashraf Hadri, I thought it was just an assignment. We didn't need to do a cover or a plan. Voilà, Ashraf, encore une fois, pour moi, la couverture, c'est un élément du rapport formel que vous deviez appliquer sur le rapport. D'accord? Très bien. Alors, nous allons maintenant passer à notre section numéro 1 du cours qui est which is emotional intelligence and interpersonal. Ashraf, you're welcome. So emotional intelligence and interpersonal skills of leaders, and today the objective of our section, of this section, is to value emotional intelligence, is also to measure and increase emotional intelligence. To recognize the role of personality in emotional intelligence, to display emotional intelligence through interpersonal skills, and realize the importance and important and improve nonverbal skills. Okay, so guys, emotional intelligence is defined as the ability to understand and to manage our own emotions, as well as recognize and influence the emotion of those around us. So more than a decade, some American researchers highlighted the importance of emotional intelligence in leadership. So the most effective leaders are all alike, are all the same in one crucial way. They all have high degree of what has come to be known as emotional intelligence. La différence entre un leader et un exécutant, c'est ce capital d'intelligence émotionnelle que doit avoir le leader. Ce qui le distingue d'un exécutant, ce qui distingue le leader d'un exécutant, is the high degree of what has, as I said, come to know as emotional intelligence. Alors, the emotional intelligence refer to how well we handle ourselves and our relationships in the 4 domain, and we will go back to talk in details about those 4 domain, the self-awareness and knowing what we feel, why we are feeling it, which is a basis of good intuition, which is a basis of good decision, for example. And then we have the domain, the self-management domain, which means handling your distressing emotion in active way, so that they don't cripple you, say they do not be des obstacles pour vous. And then we have social awareness, and social awareness is the empathy, I mean, knowing what someone else feeling. And then we have relationship management, which is putting all together in skilled relationship, putting together all those three first domain, I mean, self-awareness, self-management, and social awareness. So emotional intelligence is the quality that allows us to confront with patience and imagination. We'll confront the many problems we face in our relationship with ourselves and with the others. Okay, so we are, let's say, habituated to understand intelligence as a general quality. Normalement, on comprend l'intelligence émotionnelle comme un terme très général, without including a particular variety that an individual may have. So we don't tend to bring out the value of a type of distinct, I mean, of a distinct intelligence. So when we say that someone, for example, is gifted, but that he has messed up his private life, or that he has acquired a fortune, but he's agitated, for example, unhappy, or that he's powerful but intolerant and without imagination, we point out here a lack of emotional intelligence. So why emotional intelligence matters, guys? Why emotional intelligence is important? So the leaders set the tone of their organization. So if they lack emotional intelligence, it could have more important consequences, resulting in lower employee engagement and a higher turnover rate. Okay, so while you might excel in as I said, in your job technically, if you can't effectively communicate with your team or collaborate with others, those technical skills will get overlooked. So by mastering, I mean by en maîtrisant l'intelligence émotionnelle, vous allez certainement développer votre carrière et vous allez continuer à développer votre organisation. Précisément, la définition à retenir, qu'est-ce que nous devons retenir comme définition? Emotional intelligence, and you have it in the slide in front of you. Emotional intelligence is emotional and social knowledge and the ability to be aware of yourself, understand yourself, and express yourself. Be aware of the others, understand and relate to others. Deal with strong emotion and control your desires, for example. Adapt to change and solve problems of a personal or a social nature. I mean, this is like c'est une définition précise que nous devons peut-être retenir, un essai de définition précis. So this definition suggests that emotional intelligence begins with the ability to identify and manage emotions in ourselves and in others, but it extends also to the ability to translate these emotions into actions that show flexibility, that show personal and social problem ability. So here we have a diagram that try to let's say to break emotional intelligence into three components. So it illustrates the role of communication and the way that emotional intelligence can be manifested. So as you can notice, the diagram contains three branches of emotional intelligence. We have the appraisal, l'expression de l'émotion. We have la régulation de l'émotion, the regulation of emotion. We have l'utilisation de l'émotion. So another way to think about these three branches is as they might be expressed, as they might be, let's say, might be revealed through communication, by control, and by action. So in the first branch, as you can see, the focus is on expressing ourselves verbally and non-verbally, as well as on understanding others by reading their non-verbal cues, let's say, their nonverbal signals, for example, and by empathizing with them. So the middle branch focuses on the control of emotions in the self and in others. And the third branch, the third branch, deals with the manifestation of emotional intelligence in actions, such as planning with flexibility, thinking creatively, motivating order, redirecting attention, for example, etc. So So I talked about a 4 domain of emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence is typically, as I said, broken into 4 core competencies or 4 core domains, which are self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship management. And in order to improve your emotional intelligence, it is important to understand what each element involves. So self-awareness, let's start by self-awareness. So self-awareness is at the core of everything. It describes your ability to not only understand vos forces, pas seulement comprendre vos forces et vos faiblesses, but to recognize your emotion and the effect they have on you and your team performance. So, au niveau de ce domaine de self-awareness, ici on essaie de comprendre nos forces et nos faiblesses, mais également l'impact que ça peut avoir sur la performance de nos collaborateurs et la performance de nos équipes. Alors, an American study says that 95% of people think they are self-aware. Bah, dans la réalité, ils sont que 10 à 15% qui sont vraiment self-aware. And that can pose some problems for your employees, because working with colleagues who aren't self-aware and cut a team's success in half and lead to increased stress and to decrease motivation. Ça peut ne faire qu'augmenter le stress et ça peut réduire la motivation de vos collaborateurs. So in order to bring out the best in others, you need to bring out the best in yourself. C'est-à-dire, cette étape est très importante parce que vous devez d'abord ressortir le meilleur de vous-même avant de vous demander à vos collaborateurs et à vos coéquipiers de faire sortir the best in them. Et puis, alors la deuxième catégorie ou le deuxième domaine, la deuxième compétence, c'est après the self-awareness is the self-management. Okay, and the self-management refers to the ability to manage your emotions, particularly in stressful situation, and maintain a positive outlook despite obstacles, c'est-à-dire malgré les obstacles, malgré qui peuvent entraver. So leaders who lack self-management tend to react and have a hard time keeping their impulses, c'est-à-dire ne peuvent pas maîtriser leur désir, par exemple. So a reaction tends to be automatic. The more in tune you are with your emotional intelligence, the easier you can make the transition from reaction to response. So it's important to remember to pause, d'accord? Il est très important de vous rappeler de prendre des pauses, voilà, et de respirer, okay, to collect yourself, okay, and do whatever it takes to manage your emotions. Les émotions doivent être gérées. So whether that means taking a walk or calling a friend, Leila told us in this informal discussion, the first of the session, that she walked to collect herself, to manage her emotions. She used walking, for example, so that we can more appropriately and intentionally respond to stress and adversity. Okay, so the domain number 3, the social awareness. So well, it's important to understand and to manage our own emotion. Yes, it is important. We also need to know how to read a room, for example, c'est-à-dire d'analyser une situation, to read a room. Social awareness here describes your ability to recognize others' emotion. Alors, the social awareness means that, alors, dans les premières étapes, nous avons essayé de manager nos propres sentiments. Social awareness means nous devons reconnaître déjà les émotions des autres and the dynamics in play within your organization, because of course here we are talking, this analysis is addressed to a leader of an organization. So leaders who excel in social awareness practice empathy, yeah, they strive to understand their colleagues' feelings and perspective, which enable them to communicate and to collaborate more effectively with their peers, avec leurs collaborateurs, avec leurs coéquipiers. So by communicating with empathy, you can better support your team, okay, will improve in your individual and your team performance. D'accord? Donc, nous avons besoin dans cette troisième étape de comprendre les émotions des autres, d'accord, et de montrer une certaine empathie. Et ça va nous aider d'augmenter et de développer la performance individuelle, mais également la performance de notre équipe. So relationship management, and then this is the core number, the domain number 4, the competency number 4, and in relationship management, sorry guys. And in relationship management refers to your ability to influence, coach, and mentor others and resolve conflicts. Resolving them effectively. Dans in this core, this competency number 4, ici vous êtes amené en tant que leader à influencer, à coacher, to mentor vos autres coéquipiers ou collaborateurs. So some prefer to avoid conflict, but it is important to properly, address issues as they arise. Okay, so if you want to keep your team happy, you need to have those tough conversations, because in a recent survey, American research survey, 79% of employees ranked respectful treatment of all employees at all levels. Okay, at all levels, this was like the top factor in their job satisfaction. Okay, so you should learn how to resolve conflict effectively. You should coach your vos collaborateurs. Vous devez les coacher. You should influence them. If you want to have this emotional intelligence competency, which is essential for every successful leader. Okay, so how to improve emotional intelligence? Comment nous pouvons développer et améliorer cette intelligence émotionnelle chez nous, d'accord? Donc, after self-reflection and personality testing, let's ask, well, ces individus, can they really change their emotional intelligence? Est-ce que nous pouvons changer cette intelligence émotionnelle? Well, emotional intelligence competencies are not innate talent. OK? But learned ability, on peut les apprendre. C'est pas inné. On n'est pas avec cette intelligence émotionnelle. On l'apprend. D'accord?
Madame?
Yeah. Who's talking?
Well, I think that emotional intelligence. Yeah, I just want to add something.
Go ahead.
Right? So, I think that the emotional intelligence is something that we adapt and something that we learn. It is a discipline. So you are willing hard to discipline ourselves emotionally. So it's something we learn over days and over experiences. That's all.
Perfect. These are things we learn every day, and here are some questions that we should ask ourselves if we want to improve this emotional intelligence. Bushra, I guess Bushra agrees with me on the point that the emotional intelligence is not innate. On n'est pas avec, mais on l'apprend. We can learn them, and these are some questions that we can ask ourselves to improve this emotional intelligence. Well, here's the first question. Who do you want to be? Okay, imagine yourself as a highly effective leader. What do you see? Alors, qui voulez-vous devenir dans le futur, d'accord? Who do you want to be? Imaginez-vous, d'accord? En tant que grand leader, par exemple, qu'est-ce que vous voyez? Posez-vous cette question. Donc, imaginez-vous en tant que leader, an inspiring leader, an effective leader. OK, a CEO, for example, Abdurrahman, un PDG, un responsable. Who do you want to be? Who do you want to be, and imagine yourself as this person. Deuxième étape. Who are you now? Okay, I am a student in the first year digital marketing or a business in a business master. Okay, how do I act in my dans ma association, in my NGO, for example? How do I lead my let's say mes collaborateurs globalement? My team, for example. Let's identify our weaknesses and our strengths. Identifions nos forces et nos faiblesses au niveau de cette deuxième question. Donc la première question, alors qui voulons-nous devenir? La deuxième question, qui sommes-nous actuellement? Et qui sommes-nous? Dans cette question, qui sommes-nous? Nous devons identifier nos forces et nos faiblesses. Alors, troisième question, how do you get from here to there? Comment je pourrais aller de la situation actuelle à cette situation aspirée? How do I get from here to there? Well, let's make a plan. On peut utiliser, par exemple, we can use la roue de Damien, for example, the PDCA, the plan, do, act, check. Remember, guys? La roue de Damien, le PDCA, c'est un outil que nous avons que nous avons étudié en cours de management. We can use this cycle, for example, to improve ourselves. How do we get from this real situation to the situation we want to achieve? A fourth question, how do you make change stick? Comment nous pouvons maintenir ce changement? How do you make change stick? Well, repeatedly we haste new behavior, for example. D'accord? Physical and mentally until they are automatic. On va répéter ces... je disais, on va répéter ces actions. Donc, nous allons mettre ce plan d'action. Let's make this plan and let's repeat it. Well, anyway, as you can see, I propose this PDCA cycle, and le PDCA est un cycle d'amélioration continue. Donc, le PDCA se relance après soit en maintenant les mêmes actions, soit en les développant. Relançons ce plan à chaque fois. Okay? And then we have a last question. Who can help you? Do not try to build your emotional skills alone. Okay, identify others who can help you navigate this difficult process. Well, you can use the help of friends. You can use the help of the collaborateurs. You can use the subordinate, for example. Ask them help. Vous n'êtes pas obligé de réaliser ce plan vous-même. You can ask for help. Okay, guys. So different question to try to improve emotional intelligence. So if we first, let's agree on this basic idea that emotional intelligence is not innate. Okay, it is not innate. We can develop it. We can improve. We can. C'est une habilité qui se crée. We can learn it, for example. But if we want to learn it, here are some five questions that we should answer if you want to improve it. First, who we want to be. Okay, what are this emotional intelligence that we should develop, the 4 domain. Okay, and who are you now? What are we now? What are our weaknesses? What are our strengths? And how do we get from this real situation, this the present situation, to this desired situation? And how do we make this change? Well, we will do a plan. And how do we make change stick? We should repeat this plan until it become automatic. And we can, well, this is not, nous sommes pas obligés, mais we have the choice to call for help. Okay, so interpersonal skills, guys. So now we will talk about interpersonal skills. And interpersonal skills and emotional intelligence are, let's say, closely linked. Okay, so emotional intelligence is below la surface in our personalities, and we display by how we interact with others through our interpersonal skills. So interpersonal skills are kind of the soft skills, okay, soft skills as opposed to the technical skills. Okay, so the technical skills, as we know, are required to perform specialized tasks. But having interpersonal skills is actually only on the many soft skills we need to be successful at work and also as leaders. Okay, so there is 10. We are seeing them on the slide. There is 10 recommended soft skills. And 10 soft skills perceived as, let's say, important by many executive businesses. So, for example, we have communication. We have like the capacity, the ability to speak, the ability to write, the ability to present, but also, et plus important que ça, the ability to listen. Okay, courtesy, la courtoisie, the manners. Okay, the ability to say thank you, the ability to say please, and to be respectful. Okay, then we have la flexibility, the flexibility, the adaptability, the willingness, the willing to change, the lifelong learner, to accept new things. C'est-à-dire la flexibilité, cette capacité à changer. D'accord, cette capacité d'être toujours en apprentissage. A professor, for example, and scientific researcher are lifelong learners. They are always learning. They are always learning new things. They are always learning new theories, for example. And leaders should be at least lifelong learners, because they are dealing with context, and contexts are always changing. So they should always learn to let's say, to deal with context change. We have a leader, for example, for a specific generation, made a great effort pour s'adapter, par exemple, à la révolution technologique. D'accord. And then we have a fourth interpersonal skill, which is integrity. L'intégrité, d'accord? Being honest, being ethical, having a high morals, having a personal values, doing what is right, ok? Donc, c'est clair que le leader doit être intègre, d'accord? Il doit avoir des de l'éthique, il doit être honnête, il doit avoir des valeurs, d'accord? And interpersonal skills like being nice, having sense of humor, being friendly, okay, being patient, being sociable, d'accord? Être sociable, par exemple. Et je sais que plusieurs de nos collègues ont déjà ces caractéristiques. Many colleagues, many friends of you have all these interpersonal skills. So having a positive attitude, being optimistic, for être optimiste par exemple, being happy, being confident, okay, but not overconfident. Okay, this is this turned on a negative skill, and being enthusiastic, being encouraging. Okay, having the ability to encourage your team, for example, le professionnalisme. Okay, au niveau de vos apparences, mais au niveau de vos attitudes, la responsabilité, responsibility, being a reliable person, c'est-à-dire une personne sur laquelle nous pouvons, je veux dire, nous pouvons compter. Quoi d'autre? Alors, excusez-moi les amis. Très très bien. Ok. Je parlais d'être voilà, d'être responsable, d'accord, être une personne sur laquelle nous pouvons compter. Teamwork, for example, helpful, collaborative, supportive, and work ethic, being a hard worker, for example. So those are interpersonal skills that you should have, okay. If you want to be, si vous voulez passer de l'étape je dirais executive, ok, d'être l'étape exécutant, l'étape exécutant à l'étape leader, c'est those are interpersonal skills that you should have. Alors, the non-verbal communication categories. Alors, Nabil, Amna, Ibrahim et Younes, vous êtes là? Attendez. Amna, tu es là? Nabil. Okay, guys, you made a great work about nonverbal communication, right? So here we are going to talk about the categories of nonverbal communication. You will help us to discuss this. You will help us to discuss this part of the presentation. What are the different categories of nonverbal communication, guys? Well, let's say at least those you find or you worked on in your presentation. Les différentes catégories de la communication non verbale, j'ai dit au moins les catégories que vous avez rencontrées au niveau de votre recherche et au niveau de votre présentation. Categories of non-verbal communication.
Yes, we talked about CLN, the proxemics, expression, and posture.
What are the proxemics? The proxemics, Nabil?
Proxemics, I think, are the acts we do when we are talking, I think.
The proxemics, Nabil, are where you stand or where you sit in relation with the other. Comment tu t'assois et comment tu te mets devant l'autre personne. Those are things related to proxemics, right?
Yes, they are related to your space and.
Yeah. And then we have appearance, for example. Appearance, Nabil, are looks, are dress. Okay, how the way we dress, the way we look. We have paralanguage. Paralanguage is also a category of nonverbal communication, and paralanguage is the vocal signs, right? The vocal signs qui accompagnent nos discours, such as volume, such as tone, such as the speed, the frequency, the level. Okay, all these things that we talked about when you analyze your speech, all these related signs to the your vocal, the related signs to the vocal use we call paralanguage. Kinesics is related. This category is related to let's say body movement such as gestures, okay, postures, head movement, for example. And we will see a negative, for example, head movement, and the negative interpersonal nonverbal signs, nonverbal communication. So postures, gestures, body movements, all these are called are included in the kinesics category. And then we have acoustics. So eye movement, such eye contact, looking away, for example, when you are talking to someone, avoiding eye contact, for example, moving your eyes. All these things are included in acoustics. And then we have proxemics. Proxemics, this category, proxemics, is about let's say what we just said. Nabil, we said that it is related to where we how you stand, how you sit with in the space, in the negotiation space or in the communication space. And then we have this facial expressions. The category of facial expressions includes smiles. For example, we saw Paul Kagame smiling, the frowns when you look upset, for example, and alors Amney, alors madame, je vais lire ce que tu as écrit, Amney. Si on est assis, nos bras doivent être ouverts, bien sûr, ok. Et si on parle, on doit fixer les yeux, d'accord. The eye contact sur l'interlocuteur, absolument. Et si on veut rendre la discussion intime, on doit mettre le bras sur l'épaule, oui, d'accord. Et absolument, voilà, ça c'est différentes communications non verbales, mais chaque exemple que tu viens de citer appartient à une catégorie. Alors, si on parle de fixer les yeux, ok. Alors, fixer les yeux, c'est appartient à la catégorie acoustics, ok. Et si on veut bien ouvrir les mains quand on parle, ça appartient à la catégorie proxemics. Mettre les bras sur l'épaule de l'autre, ça aussi je vais dire que c'est peut-être aussi proxemics, ok. Donc ou sinon je peux dire voilà, proxemics. Donc, chaque exemple que tu viens de citer appartient à une différente catégorie, et les différentes catégories of nonverbal communication are appearance, paralanguage, kinesics, oculesics, proxemics, facial expression, and olfactics. Olfactics, guys, are smells. OK. Alors, aujourd'hui, avec les stratégies marketing très développées de positionnement des perfume companies, des cosmetic companies, aujourd'hui, the smells sometimes can say who we are. Okay, different perfume, different, let's say, degree, l'intensité des parfums, par exemple, le choix des parfums, le choix de la marque. Ça, par exemple, ça montre qui nous sommes. And this examples is included in olfactics. We have also a missed category, which is chronomics. The chronomics is Isabelle, lorsqu'elle a analysé les discours de Barack Obama, elle a parlé de ces périodes de silence, d'accord? Donc, ces arrêts. Ça c'est des communications non verbales, d'accord, used in this category of chronomics. Fixer les yeux, rendre la personne indécryptable, absolument. Ok. Merci, Amné. And here is like some negative, let's say some negative Merci à vous, madame. Très bien. Négatif, interpersonal, non-verbal aspect, yeah. Negative non-verbal signs, okay. So let's start by, for example, here is a positive, this is a positive example of smiling, okay? So Nelson Mandela, here is a positive smiling that express, let's say, express honesty. But smiling too often or when not appropriate can make us seem, let's say, can make us seem insincere or superficial. And not smiling at all can be can cause us to be seen as troubled, okay, or inapproachable. Une personne qui sourit pas peut refléter des signes. Elle peut être une personne qu'on ne peut pas, on ne peut pas s'approcher de cette personne qui ne sourit pas, par exemple. Mais sourire tout le temps peut montrer que nous ne sommes pas une personne sincère, que nous sommes une personne superficielle. Mais l'exemple que vous avez devant vous est un exemple positif parce que le sourire, par exemple, peut refléter l'honnêteté. On l'a vu avec Paul Kagame, on l'a vu avec Barack Obama et with Joachim Phoenix, l'exemple de Joachim Phoenix, the not smiling at all make us think that Yakaniza, tu peux confirmer that the Joker has trouble, for example, that Joachim Phoenix has psychological trouble. So then we have using gestures not consistent with our message, and what you have in front of you is a kind of exaggerated example, but this is a young girl who says that she's fine, but her gestures, her body, her face shows that she's not fine at all. So using gestures, not, yes, good example. Using, as I said, gestures qui ne correspondent à votre message. In other words, your body says something counter to the words we are saying. Third, standing or sitting small or crouching on your chair instead of standing or sitting up straight, okay, and confident will make you appear timide, d'accord, et pas très sûr de vous-même. Donc, make sure you are sitting straight in the table. So, tilting your head like that, okay, tilting your head like our head to one side or the other can make us appear to be questioning the speaker, which is appropriate if we are really asking him. Okay, it is appropriate if we are just try to send a sign that we are asking him. But if not, this is inappropriate. Okay, give me just 1 second, guys. I will. I have a low battery. Okay, so the example I was talking about. I was saying that you should sit straight in the table, and well, moving your. Also, I was talking about moving your head in the other side can mean that you are questioning the person. It is a positive sign if you really want to question him without sans l'arrêter, mais sinon c'est inapproprié, d'accord. Raising our eyebrows, okay, suggests questioning as well. Okay, raising our eyebrows suggests that we don't understand what l'interlocuteur est en train de dire. Mais sinon, si nous ne sommes pas en train de lui poser cette question, ça pourrait être inapproprié. Alors, Amnei vient de nous donner cet exemple of eye contact. So, not maintaining eye contact in many cultures suggests that we cannot be trusted. Okay. Well, we cannot be trusted in orders. It can be considered, well, in other culture, for example, it can be considered rude or aggressive, okay? And placing, guys, and you sometimes do this, your computer, for example, your briefcase or your cell phone on the table suggests a lack of concerns for the orders, okay? If you are in an official meeting, don't do this. If you are in a classroom, don't do this. But if you are in an informal team meeting, for example, it can be appropriate. If you are just working with your colleague, for example, and it's not, it could be appropriate. But if you are in a formal meeting, if you are in an interview, guys, don't put your cell phone, don't put your phone, don't put your briefcase on the table. Okay, so looking down at your cell phone or your tablet also suggests a lack of interest and will offend many. Well, sometimes you don't mean to offend the person. Well, you have dinner with someone, with a friend, or you are in a course, for example, and you look down to the cell phone. This in many cultures, this is 100% is expressed and interpreted as a lack of interest. So many people, the people in front of you, will be offended. Okay, so not touching, again, one last negative, let's say negative sign is not touching web to web in a handshake. Okay, when you don't when you don't put your you're not touching the web to web handshake, okay, that can create a weak handshake. Quand vous touchez, quand vous saluez la personne et vous ne touchez que les doigts, quand le salue un peu, ça par exemple dans certaines cultures c'est une interprétation, peut-être une interprétation négative. Okay, so what ways, guys, ways to improve? How can we improve our nonverbal, guys? How can we improve our nonverbal communication? So we should learn as much as possible about any culture in which you will be the culture with who you will be interacted in this negotiation situation or this leadership communication. I don't know what will be the circumstances, but there will be certainly many where you have, for example, you will need to do this speech in front of different cultures. So do not judge again someone's actions out of context or leave the actions unexplored with importance to you or the organization. So there is always a context for an action. Someone not saying hi, not saying hello to your colleague didn't say hello. Your colleague seems upset, for example, shows negative nonverbal faces. Well, try to understand the context. Maybe he's sick. Maybe things are not. He had a negative grade, for example. Maybe etc. etc. So try to understand the context. Don't judge someone's actions before understanding the context. Develop an understanding of and sensitivity to non-verbal signs. Okay, essayez de comprendre les signes. Essayez de comprendre les signes non-verbaux, d'accord? Mais je sais que l'équipe de Nabil et Amnei sont d'abord experts dans la compréhension des signes non-verbaux, donc la communication non-verbale, mais essayons de les comprendre et développons une certaine sensibilité à ces signes, d'accord? Absolutely. Percent of what involved in communication. Exactly, Nabil. Let me read more. Voilà. Nonverbal Nabil is saying that nonverbal communication constitutes approximately 70% of what is involved in communication. I totally agree. So here is another way is to assess your own use of nonverbal communication. So an important way is to learn as much as possible about cultures, about nonverbal meaning in cultures, and this will be, guys, the object of the next session.